Hello everyone, welcome to the third class. In this series, how to draw a pencil portrait. Understanding an image requires keen observation and patience. The image which I am showing you on screen has taken me 20 hours to draw and still some part is remaining. I feel it will take 24 hours. So it requires a lot of patience to draw a pencil portrait. As I have seen on YouTube, people are not that much interested in seeing any long videos. They are always interested in short videos. The main drawback that you learn from short videos is that you feel the procedure is very simple to get a very good product. Even though I am not so old to talk on generations and how people take the task, what I observed is generation right now, they are more into having the videos faster. They don't have the patience to listen for a longer time. So if you don't have the patience to listen, you don't even have the patience to draw as well. The side effect of having a faster video, when you fasten a video, it is not going to show you the observation or the patience that the painter is having in him. Just to get a realistic nose, it takes around half an hour to 1 hour. So if you don't have the patience to spend 1 hour on a single nose, it is better not to draw. So the procedure of drawing is far more difficult if you don't understand and if you don't have the patience. The understanding parts in the observation. If you don't observe the image properly, then you can't replicate it. And if you don't have the patience to learn, then you can't do it. So these are the two main things which you should have in you. One is the observation, very keen observation. The second one is patience. Even if you don't have observation, you will slowly develop it as you go on drawing. But if you don't have patience, then it is better not to draw. The video which you are seeing on the screen is a 2D screen because it's a plain surface. But you have the perception of depth in it. The perception of depth comes from two factors. One is the size of the object and the second one is shadows. From the size of the object, I mean, you see my hand is as having the same length as of my face. When it is at equal distance from the camera, it is having the same size. Now you know that on the video you can see my hand is just beside my face. When I bring it near to the camera, you see that the length of the hand has increased more than that of the face. So there is another observation which you should have. The objects which are nearer, the light source is just behind the camera, so the hand is having lighter tones than my face because it is nearer to the lighter source. So as I bring even nearer to it, you can see a difference between my face. You can see that it is having lighter textures. Now if I tilt it, I tilt my hand. Even the bending of my hand at the knuckles is giving a depth perception. Even if you're seeing it on a 2D screen, you're getting the depth perception just because of these shadows. You see the shadows are formed below because as the light source is from the top, these are having lighter tones. The fingers are having the lighter tones and the part which is not parallel to the light source, it is having that shadows. As I change it, so the rate of or the gradient of shadows, here you can see a very darker patch and a very small darker patch. As I am changing it, you can see that the tone is slightly changing from the darker to the lighter one. As it becomes flat, you can see no variation, no shadows as you go from top to the bottom of your hand. Now coming to this part, you can see that light is not going into this part, so this is having a darker tone. These are the separation between fingers where the light is not going through, so you can see darker tones here. I'll draw on the book and I'll show it to you. this part is straight, while the thumb has a bend over here. So that bend has come up here. Now this is the straight. You should, the grid reference which I have shown you in the first video tells you whether the line is straight or it is inclined, or in what angle it is changing in the pace. So this seems to be parallel to the, is vertical, almost vertical. So I put it almost vertical. As you go from here, the width of the finger is changing from, as I going from here to top of the tip of the finger. So it is slightly decreasing with a slight increase, a bump over here. So that has to be reproduced here on. This is the nail. You see a little bit of finger shown here. The nail has gone into the other finger. So the next finger starts around here. Even the same thing has happened here as well. So I'll draw the finger. As we are coming down, now I am drawing this one. This is not vertical, slightly inclined. It is going towards the left. Off my left, on the video it will be on the right side. So this line is slightly inclined and there is a bump over here where the knuckle is. So I go. The bump here in this finger is somewhat below this one. So I'll have a bump over here. It comes straight. Where does this finger stop? This dark part. This dark part stops somewhere just below where the bottom part of the nail. So this is at the same level. This is how you get references from when you don't have a grid. This is how you get the references. You have to refer from the adjacent objects. How far it is, how wide it is. You see the nail here is somewhat like this. The width of the finger is changing. The width of the finger is changing from top to bottom. Here I didn't get that perception, as you see that the width of the finger is same, equal here. So I can erase. So I can erase this and try to do it again. There is a slight bump, then it goes, the width increases. It's almost vertical. This I have to change, right? This part is having around 30 to 20 degrees from this vertical line. So, and it starts way towards this one. There is a difference between this line and where it starts. There is a width here. That width has as equal as this base of this finger. So if I get this, stops here. Now this somewhere here. This inclined part becomes vertical when it touches this tip. So it should touch this tip. When it comes here, it becomes straight. Somewhat straight, but it has a bend here. That's it. Okay. Now I can draw the arm, forearm. Coming to this line, There is a slight bump here as well, and it has, you see, this one and this one are not parallel, they are slightly inward. So as I project them, if I go straight lines from here, they are going to intersect somewhere. So there is a slight change in width, increase in width here. Coming to this finger, check the height of these two. This finger is somewhat higher than this one, so I'll start from here. Check for this bump. This bump is below this one. So you come down and you give the bump here. Coming to this ring part. Now I draw the ring here. It also, this line goes below this one, so you have to draw until here. Coming to this shadow, if you have an outline here, then it can be done in the shadows part. So I will draw that line for reference, so that now this is done. Coming to the little finger. Little finger is with the reference of these knuckles here. You get the little finger at what height it is. It is somewhere at this part. It also is inclined. You see this shadow, if I could go straight vertically, it is going until here. So if I keep it, so the little finger should be inwards, invert the finger, and this shadow is, if I draw a straight line here, that little finger should not come out of this line. So this is the little finger and this is the shadow. This is that line which I am explaining you right now. It comes slightly somewhere around the ring, it is having that knuckle here. So I put head here. Slightly inclined. This is not straight, slightly inclined. This bend, this curve which you are having is at the same level as this, where this ends, where the thumb ends here. So this thumb is like this. So I put the curve here and straight. I'll even try to draw the watch. Before doing any shadows, this is the watch, so it is parallel. I put a parallel thing here. There is slight bump. Now coming to the shadow parts. Now check for the hand. If I am going to remove one of the light sources, you see that the light source from this side has been stopped. So the shadows are, the darker parts are more over here. You see this shadow in between is having a larger width than this one because it is nearer to the source. Here the shadows are even having a wider width. From this light source is on this side. This becomes the curvature part. Until here it is facing the light source. Here it starts curving up. So where it starts curving up, the shadow starts building up. Until here it is parallel, or it is almost, the light is striking perpendicular to this plane surface, so you have a lighter texture here, lighter tones. So as the curvature starts, it curves like this. If I keep like this, see the shadow parts, it is almost plane now. If I turn it like this, I can see the shadows are starting from this middle finger, which is where the curve starts. This is extra amount of flesh which is protruding out because I put the thumb. Now if I put like this, you see the shadows are almost dark here, I can't see anything. So the change of these shadows shows how your finger is. If I put the finger like this, This flesh is protruding out because I put my thumb nearer to the palm. I can see. So the change of this shadow and this highlight is going to give you the perception of depth. Now I'll give this light source. I'll remove this light source from this side. See this here right now. The highlights, these darker things, more towards this side right now, and it is lighter on this side. Even if you see in my shirt, you see there is a darker part here. So these are the keen observations which you should have, which will give you the depth perception. I'm going to the shading part. This nail, so it is a spoiled nail, it is having a darker tone. Now checking the tones in this picture, in this hand. The darkest part is this part. So when you are having, this is called a color scale. In a color scale you can go from, you can use a single pencil to get the 3D effect if you know how to use this pencil. This pencil can be used pressing hard, being lighter, and drawing nothing. The drawing nothing will give you the highlights. As you see the ring, which is having the highest value or the highest highlight value, you should not shade anything there. You shade the parts that are above and below it, and you will get the effect of that ring, a shining ring. There is no need of doing any coloring over this part. The same happens here in this part as well. In this lighter part, there is a highlight part here as well. You don't put your pencil on those parts. These are having a curved one. This is having also a curve here. So those curves, those highlights which are curved in shape will give you the shape of the body. Here if I put, you see, I put a curved shape here. I also put a curved shape here. There is a button out here. How the button is replicated, you see how it is changing. So in this angle if I see, there is a very good highlight here. There is a light highlight here. So first I'll try to do that button. So there is a curved shape here as well. It is having a lighter tone. So I'll do it lightly. This part should be darkened. So this is darkened. This part as well. So you darken it and you will do this highlight. This highlight is having a rounded edge, but it is on the bottom side. On the top side, it is not so much. So now this gives you a perception of depth here, or the perception of curvature. You can see a button which is having depth in between, and on the edges it is elevated. The perception comes from the highlights. Here is the same. You can use the eraser. To get highlights. So it is, you should understand how much pressure you are giving with the pencil and how much pressure you are giving with the eraser. Then only you are going to get that perception of depth. On this side, now the image has changed, but when I was drawing, on this side it is having a more lighter one, almost white. Here it was having a lighter tone. So here I press hard. If I wish, I can use a white pen as well to get the highlights. I can use this white pen to get those highlights. So this gives the 3D effect for the watch. Now coming to the shadow parts. You see this nail is having a darker. So I darken this a bit. I'm using a single graphite pencil. There is slight darker shade here. This darker shade I am replicating now. And it is having some horizontal linearity. You see this curved part, there is a slight shadow here. So I'm going to get that here. This darker patch now. There is a darker patch here, there is another darker patch in this knuckle. So never press the pencil too hard, always use it in a slanted mode so that you will get the shadows right. Now I get this shadow here. In the shadow part, I have got few dark straight lines. So I'll try to replicate those. There is a vertical line here. Now coming to this part, we have a shadow here. It is nail, the finger was like this when it drew. So it is below the knuckle, thumb knuckle. So it is somewhere here. See that it slightly, there is a darkness here, and as you go away from it, it is going and getting mixed up with the lighter tones. So the middle part should be darker, and as you go towards the edges, it's done. Now coming to this darker part. This is not as dark as this one. So this has a slightly lighter tone than this knuckle. So you should press not too much here. There are also some rounded highlight, darker patches here. I'm not trying to draw a perfect one. The curvature of this finger is given by how from a darker part it becomes a lighter one. So now I'll give a dark here, then slightly use my pencil at the edge. This is going to give you the roundness of the finger. The same thing happens here as well. So I slightly do this. The dark portion here becomes slightly low, but with a greater gradient. Gradient is how the color is changing from dark to light and what distance it is changing. So this gradient is long, this gradient is very thin. So here the width of the shadow which you have drawn here will be more. Coming to this thumb part, see that this portion here is having a very dark one just below the nail. Yes, there's not such a bend. This bend has to be like this. Like this. This part. Got this right. Now there is a lighter tone and a darker tone here. Slightly get it. And this is the shadow part which is giving you width of your hand. As it starts. You see this is almost a triangle here. The triangle which you see here, this is the triangle. I will darken this. After observing the shape and darkening it, you have to slowly change the edges so that it gets mixed up with the adjacent highlight part. Now you can use a brush. You can use a brush to merge these two. You can use even a folded paper. It's almost 36 minutes now. It's okay. If you have the patience to learn, you have to observe. Otherwise, you can quit anywhere, anytime you like. Okay. Now coming to, there is a slight dark patch here just below the finger, and the finger, the place where it is joining with the skin, it is also darker, so I'll darken that a bit. Here there is a dark patch because of that infection, that spoiled nail, so I'll make, so this darker tone here will be done with a slide. You should observe how I am doing that, because I am using a slanted pencil. The dark line which you see here is darker than this one, so this has to be darkened, but not as dark as this one. When you're darkening sharp lines, then you can use the pencil vertical, but otherwise while shading you should never use it vertical. The darkness has increased here, the width of the dark line has increased here, so I can increase it somewhere. As you come down, this line has to become thinner. Now see this dark patch here? It is in the middle of the middle finger, and it is around this thumb knuckle. You should always have a reference, the positional reference and the darkness reference. This is the darkest line which I can see in my hand, and that is as dark as this one and this part. So these three, 1, 2, 3, these are the parts where I should put most pressure on my pencil. When you're doing these lighter, these are darker than these parts, but not as dark as this one. So I use a medium pressure. Here I am not trying to do anything with my pencil right now. When I go for the highlights, I'll tell you how to do the highlights. On the ring, you see that there is a shadow here and here at the curves. On the curved part which is showing to the light source, that is lighter, but on the edges, and there is a slight shadow here that can be drawn with my pencil. At last, when I am going to have a shade over here, then this ring is will get highlighted. Coming to this knuckle and this little finger is straight at the ring, so I draw it here. You see a slight white patch here, which is my face palm, which is slightly seen here, so I leave a white patch there. Now see this finger, see this one, there is only a white patch here, there is a slight white patch, and there is a light white patch highlight part here, and this part is darkened. So try to do that now. Now as you have darkened this part and this part are having the same darkness here, so I will darken it right now. In this watch there is This is the strap, and there is a light part here, so in between I leave. Now this part, this dark patch is coming slightly down, so I'll extend that. There are darker tones here as well. It goes slightly curved and then comes inside. There is a little bit of hair. This is having a lighter tone and this is having the dark tone which I have already drawn. Now coming for the highlights, and there is a slight dark tone. I'll draw even down below so that I can study this fabric and this shadow. This is the shadow part. The shadow starts from my hand and the gap between the shirt and this. So this becomes a straight line. The shadow is darker here. As you come down, it is becoming lighter. The fold is seen by a light patch here, which is between two dark patches. So this is the light patch, the shade highlight, the fold, and this is the dark patch. There is a slight shadow here which I have to observe. So that when the cloth is near to your skin, the shadow, you can't see the shadow. When the fabric goes far away from your skin, then the shadow width increases. So it starts lightly here. When it comes here, the width increases. That has to be taken care. And slowly merge it with this shadow. That's it. This whole part is having a darker tone. This edge and this edge. So I'll put. Since I made this darker, this part darker, it is darker than this one, but this portion is darker than this one. So relatively, if I go to this color scale, I should have a dark one, then slightly lower, reduce the pressure, it comes to a white scale. So this is this grading in any black and white image. If you understand the darkness and how it is becoming this gradient, how much pressure you should build on the pencil. How much I'll get that. See, this is darker. So you should understand how the gradient is changing from the darker part to the lightest part. Then only you can understand the shadows here. Now you see this is a bit darker. You see the tip of this finger is exposed. Even the same thing here as well. So I'll try to erase this part and get that effect. I didn't draw this tip of this finger, so I'll draw this one as well. should be very careful when you're drawing the hair or any other added effect, realistic effect to the finger. You see on my nose, you see that highlight here? This is giving that the nose is protruding out of your face. See, a lighter patch here as well. There are lighter patches here which is giving you the fold. Which is giving you the fold, the eyebrow, below the eyes. So as you go down towards the neck, you see this becomes darker. This dark part says that the face has protruded. It is even far nearer to you, nearer to the light source. These shiny things in the ear are the highlights which is giving you that curved and imaginations to your eye. The frame of this glasses is having a highlight here, a highlight here, a highlight here, a highlight here. So these parts have to be left off when you are drawing to get the realistic effect. There's a shiny patch of forehead here. As you go here, it becomes darker. This side is even more darker. There is a highlight here. These all things are to be observed. If you can't observe all these minute things, you can't give a 3D effect to any 2D one. This is the effort from my side to teach anyone who is interested in shading and drawing realistic images. Hope this class is good. Thank you.